Chloe, she, her in Michigan, is a theist that has responded to our chat poll, and I like this response. So, Chloe, you were on chatting up with JMike and Secular Rarity. What is up today?
Well, I saw the poll, the clear question, do you believe that atheists should be persecuted for not believing in God? And I have very strong feelings. No, they should not.
Yes, ma'am. I love it. I love it. I saw that. That's why I wanted to bring you on here, because again, I think this is a perfect opportunity to show that even though, you know, we may disagree on stuff, that does not mean that any one of us should be treated in such an atrocious way for whatever we do or don't believe. And I am so thrilled to hear one of our theist sisters out there standing shoulder to shoulder with us. So thank you so much for that, Chloe.
Well, you're welcome. And because, you know, I'm your human sister first, and then also
right.
like I, you know, both between wanting to respond to that and then hearing the previous call, I'm gonna start again about like the persecution thing, and then I'll probably, you know, involve the rest. So persecution, Christians should not do any persecuting, period. I know that the history of religion in the world is full of Christians doing the persecuting. But then when you go back to the Bible, and I know that the Bible is full of all kinds of stuff, but if you go back to the New Testament, Christians were being persecuted, yes, but then also it's never said to do the persecuting. And also, yes, Christians, Jesus says that we should go and, you know, make disciples. And then you strip that down, though, and really it is about loving each other home, about serving and loving each other home and mingling and being good to people. That is the opposite of persecution. And also, frankly, a lot of the religious effort that's made to try and make converts is so much like a political campaign or an ad campaign. And it's not about that intrinsic authenticity of really wanting to do good to people. Because those kinds of movements in the world, that is what actually, you know, it is captivating, and it lasts because it is real from the inside out. It's not like, oh, I'm doing something because my religion says to, or because of this, but it's in me first, and it's because it's who I am. And that, I know, is really contrary to a lot of critiques about how so many Christians live. And then I know that the critiques pop up of like, well, what about the part of the Bible that says this and this? And earlier in the call, right before me, you guys were talking to somebody about, you know, the issues where like, oh, well, I've got the Holy Spirit, and then lots of disagreement, lots of lack of clarity. And I wanted to speak to that in light of this, because I think that they're actually tied together. Is it okay if I keep going, or do you want to say or ask anything first?
Give us a few more. We won't spend too much time on this. And we'll, because we got a bunch of other really cool calls as well. But I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I can definitely. This one is so clear in my head. I can do this a lot faster. So,
sure.
Yes, the way that I was shaped, but I think it's a really transcendent principle, even though it's from a denomination that I'm doing some deconstructing from. There's this principle, though. That was highlighted to me. I'm sure she wasn't the only person, but one of the founders of our denomination, she wrote a lot. And this principle of like the Bible should be something unifying, and that a lot of people stray from certain key things in the Bible by saying, well, we've got the Spirit, but the Bible is meant to be like a type of anchor point. And I know.
Are you a Seventh Day Adventist? Sorry to interrupt.
Yes, I am. Yes,
I thought so.
Okay. I just didn't want to take all that time. Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going, please.
And actually, a lot of where this passion of mine comes from is actually because I have internal dissonance very greatly with my denomination, because I was born and raised in it, and then I eventually was a pastor's wife for 4 years, and then in between the time that I was a pastor's wife and things I've seen since then, I got further and further to the inside. And I was, yes, there are minority people who are people of conscience and character, who are effortful in everything that they do, great and small, public and not. But I also received a lot of betrayal trauma in many different ways, not just by an initial event, but also by all the other places where I tried to get help about it, or for somebody to care about really basic stuff that were taught in Sabbath school, really basic character points, in the Bible. And so both in little ways and in complex ways, I have a beef with the current devolving state of my denomination because I feel that it is being unfaithful to its roots and unfaithful to the Bible. And then I know that, like, in the Bible, it's conflicting all over the place. How can there be anything, unifying about it? And for me there, and here I'm pausing actually because I'm trying to triage and not say too much. Yes, I started the center with the premise that I accept and believe that God is love. And then, yes, that will bring up a lot of questions. Well, if God is love, then how do you explain this? But, we have lots of calls about that. I've been asked that, but to stay focused on this thing, you look at how love behaves. There are places where God describes, or with the Bible also, like, describes very clearly what love is meant to.
Chloe, real quick. I'm sorry. Chloe, real quick. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does love, I have maybe a different concept than you do. Does love by like the billions and trillions let infants die? Horrendous deaths? Do you think that that's like constitutive of your love concept? Because it's not, it's like on another planet from my concept of love.
Yeah. So
when you say love, I think I'm worried you're talking about something like shmov. Because like,
well, actually, I'm not surprised at the question. And what I'm talking about isn't shmov, like emotion, schmaltzy, rom-com, or like the religious wet dream kind of films. I'm talking actually about love is a composite of principles and traits that are always oriented to goodwill and to flourishing. And then
Chloe, is it ever okay to, when you have the power to not let an infant die, is it ever okay to let it die? If you could stop it, is it ever okay to sit there and let it die? Do you think so?
Absolutely. No, I don't. And that is where the factor.
Okay, so then you would agree it's loving to take care of that child, to find it help, to nourish it, right? That would be indicative of loving, right? I just want a couple quick answers.
Yes, it would be.
Great.
Yes, it would be.
And okay, great. But that's why I'm saying you're using a different concept. Like me and you have an agreement, like on what's constitutive of like a loving nature or lovingness. But then you use the same grunt sound to describe something else that is not constitutive of any of those things. In fact, they're like it's negation, right? They can't exist.
Did you say
mutually? Yeah, like the grunt sound love, like we're just making some dumb phonetic sound with our mouths, with our stupid mouths, right? So you're just saying love, you're saying that grunt sound, but what the concept is totally different, because that concept of love, which I'm thinking you're saying something like shmub, just call it something else, is something that's okay with watching at an exponential rate. Babies just die for some reason, right? That seems like the negation of love. So it's like you're taking these two, you have this concept, but then when you talk with God, all of a sudden it's like, it's no longer love, it's shmub. You're just talking about some completely different concept. You've left love land, right? You're now in shmub land, which I think sounds awfully a lot of like dick land to me.
Well, is it okay? Secular Rarity, do you want to add to that, or can I respond to that?
No, I've just been laughing. Both of you have said some really good things. At one
and I
point,
like Chloe. I just, it's hard for me. Like, this is the problem, Chloe. I like you when you call in.
Yes.
And you I can
great.
see the wheels churning there. I'm not trying to be offensive, but like the excuses some people make when I can just feel like that it's not like you told me it's not loving to let a child die, but then we just like make this exception. I don't get it. Like I don't understand it.
I just want to be clear. I wasn't laughing at you, Chloe. I was just laughing at, like you said a Theist wet dream movie at one point, and that was really funny. And then JMike just said Shmov land is like dick land. So that's just, I'm sorry. I'm just a child laughing, but please go ahead, respond to JMike. I'll be quiet.
My frustration is not at you, by the way, Chloe. It's just, I have to deal with this all the time. And it's like, it's just like, why? You're a good person. I can tell.
I'm also okay. So here's I'm going to try and like zoom out for a second and talk about a dynamic of when something that I observe both when I call in and others call in, and it's not a critique. It's actually, when you have a call-in show and everybody only has a limited period of time, it is true that some people really kind of just to get stymied by these things. And they are difficult to get into. And here's the thing. I have done a lot of thinking, and there is a lot that I want to explain. However, when somebody is, it would take almost not even just one whole long show, but maybe even a series,
Sure.
because, you know, like the way that we work out medicine and science and really complex math, there are some things that do work, that are consistent, but they are not simple to say, like a bumper sticker or like
sure, yeah.
mask.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, like, I totally get it that I start mentioning love, and then you want to bring up this example that looks like there is no other way that it could work. And I completely see the validity of that. But I also don't think that that is the only piece.
Sure, but then your alternative, Chloe, is to say that your alternative is saying, but Mike, have you considered your concept of love, of entering the door for infant murdering and just not nourishing a baby, doing the opposite, watching it and just going, no, it's okay. Have you considered that, JMike, adding that to your concept of love? Yeah, I considered it. I said, get the fuck out of here, right? I feel like you and other people that I know should have the similar response. But it's like, you have this thing you already believe in. It's like, we fight so hard. You fight so hard to make it work. And it's so obvious. It's so obvious. You've added 2 and 2 and got 5, and your answer's wrong, right? Like, by your own lights.
I haven't actually.
Because you even agree that's wrong. That you should never do that.
I have not had much time to, like, I'd like to, I get everything you're saying, but I'm also like trying to say more that would make certain things more clear. And then also I know that I have limited time on this show, and maybe there could be another time that, like, I could, you know, put certain things down on paper, and we could even have some kind of a extended sit down or an extended
email me
series. I don't know, but I actually
email me. I'll have an extended conversation with you off the show, Chloe. I'd happy to do that. But like, no offense, but when you do come on, you do add a lot of points, and that's great. And some people might get frustrated at me, and Secular will stop people quick because people say 1,700 things, and it's impossible to go back to them.
I know.
And so it's like, it's not like if you like, you know, would see me on TikTok or other places, like if I debate people, I mean, I'm actually pretty bad at like interrupting. I try to be better at it, but it's one of those things where it's like, I try to treat it with more care in those situations, but here it's like, hey, we have an audience of atheists. We make it, someone makes a claim of something that we're all kind of like, hold on, and we want to know more about that thing, but it's impossible to go back to that when you have 20 other things going on. So I get it. It's impossible to have a dialogue the way we'd ultimately want to, but we can focus on this one thing, and that's, how are you reconciling your 2 concepts of love that just seem at odds by your own lights?
Yeah.
And my answer to how do I reconcile those 2 things is the thing that would take more time. And if I maybe even just a few seconds to finish the thing I originally wanted to say, and then if you still want to spend more time, I'll speak more to the love thing too. And not just a private conversation about love, but even if we wanted to do a show, like, I'd be happy to, like, you know, sit down and do more of like the in-depth whatever.
What I'd like to do for today, Chloe, because I think this might be the best for all of our viewers and everything. We're gonna give you a little bit of time to finish up that first point, and then instead of trying to go into that question that JMike was just asking, just give us a call back, and like he said, feel free to hit both of us up individually and chat. I think every freaking time I've talked with you, Chloe, I've walked away with a smile on my face. Like, I've always enjoyed it. So you are the type of person undeniably we want here. So we'll give you a quick second to finish up that first point, and then we'll wrap up and we'll grab some of these other cool calls. So.
Sure. And is it correct that, like, when you say internal critique, that it's like this term of, like, I as a Christian am critiquing the church from within the church? Is that the whole internal critique thing?
Yeah, it can be used in 2 different capacities. The capacity that I often think about when you say an internal critique is from, like, the philosophical argument side, where basically somebody is saying, okay, granting that these premises are true, here's the problem with them, right? Here's the contradiction or whatever.
There's some unnoticed consequence that might make you feel uncomfortable.
Right, exactly.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to call on when I saw the poll question, is because I wanted to put out in atheist ears and in whoever's Christian theist ears who hears this standpoint that might, maybe help soften or create more thoughtfulness in people who are persecuting atheists and people who are at least biased and prejudiced, and I want to point them to what we say we believe to get them to think more deeply and change how they're acting. So, so the whole thing that like atheists should not be persecuted because, I mean, Christians should not persecute. And even in our efforts to, convert, I would even argue there, I mean, I believe that it's accurate that the Holy Spirit is supposed to do the converting. We are supposed to do the loving. We are supposed to do the sharing. Our business is to serve and to be loving and to have it be intrinsic from the inside out, to be transformed so that that's who we are from the inside out. Tons of work to do there. And then the whole thing about interpretation, the Bible, if it were this anchor point, yes, I think that there's still room for lots of different scholastic traditions to view each other's contributions not as enemies, but as all interesting, because we say that it's the infinite word of God, which means that there's no limit. So it doesn't have to be like shoving away of certain things. There can be a way to at least appreciate, even if there's not a total agreement, and take out some of that antagonistic energy. And then also, with interpreting, I don't remember the full thing about him, the previous caller on the education bit, but like, I have a degree and I am interested to learn more, but I also really take offense with the attitude that like, people with a lower developed intellect or something, like they're not going to get certain things. I'm sorry.
Totally.
There are places in the Bible where you do have to do a more sophisticated mental exercise to get into it. But then there are other places that are completely accessible and actionable for every person. And also, like people, I don't like that attitude of lower developed intellect. People are going to have trouble because, frankly, every human has so much potential. And even people who, like, say somebody who comes across as more severely disabled, autistic, or Down syndrome, there are gifts and there are specialties that we all have, and that can all be brought. And so, and also, when there's no limit, I mean, if people want to put their minds to grow and to learn, brain plasticity, I mean, a lot of things can happen.
Right.
And so,
I think right there, honestly, Chloe, is just a good sentiment for us to end on. So I know we've got some other good callers. But truly, I always really enjoy whenever you give us a call. I think you are always honest, and I think you are always, engaged in these conversations, which is just not the description of many of people that have called over the past. So thank you so much. Go ahead real quick.
I try to be honest. I try to be honest.
Good.
And real quick,
I think that's the most important.
I also want to, and I want to apologize into the airwaves for the last time that I called in somewhere. I'm not going to go into detail about it because those who heard it and know it were there. I kind of tried impulsively to do something friendly and fun. And I didn't also think about like how doing that on somebody else's show and also how it might make my friend feel. And I don't, want any more detail than that. But I just wanted to put an apology into the airways because I kind of
thank you.
was sloppy with that and it wasn't great.
Thank you for that, Chloe. We do appreciate that. And again, I think it's a good sentiment for us to end on that, even though we may disagree on some very, very important core beliefs for us, we do agree that nobody should be persecuted for those beliefs or those lack of beliefs. And I just think that is a really, really powerful sentiment to end on an atheist show where we had a wonderful chat with a very nice theist who also does not believe that atheists should be persecuted worldwide. So, Chloe, thank you so freaking much. Seriously, I always enjoy chatting with you. And please give us a call back in the future.